My name is Paul Brunner, and I'm a bow hunter. We're about to show you what I think is a really fine whitetail hunting video. This isn't a video about killing. This is a video about bow hunting for whitetails in an urban environment. The population in the United States is growing very dramatically. We have far more people than we ever had before. Habitat for white-tailed deer is being diminished greatly by houses, subdivisions, places for people to live. What you find is that rather than wipe the whitetail out, it has made the whitetail adapt to the new conditions. And whitetails are remarkable creatures. They, like the cockroach and the coyote, will survive probably after the last atomic bomb. During the filming of this video, we found that bow hunting could be one of the most effective tools in the world to curtail deer populations that have gone crazy. The anti-hunters have no solutions that work. And when you watch this video, you'll see solutions that did work. In this video, you're going to learn how to hunt street-smart bucks. Before we take you on our urban whitetail hunt, let's show you some of the information and statistics about the white-tailed deer throughout the history of the United States. I think you'll find it interesting.
In colonial days, white-tailed deer were found virtually everywhere east of the Rocky Mountains. The Pilgrims, who faced a bleak winter of starvation their first year, were blessed with an abundance of white-tailed deer for meat. As civilization slowly spread westward, settlers could supplement their meager stock of food with a ready supply of deer. But as the population of humans increased, so did the demand on the deer. Unwise hunting practices and market hunting combined to greatly reduce the white-tailed deer population to the point where less than 500,000 white-tailed deer were left scattered throughout its entire range in the United States. In some areas where deer were always historically abundant, the species virtually ceased to exist. Careful wildlife management, plus the availability of food from farmlands, created a startling reversal of whitetail numbers to the point where today there are more than 15 million white-tailed deer across the country. This is truly a conservation success story. However, in recent years, the white-tailed deer has become so populated in certain areas that it has created some serious problems. This is especially true where major subdivisions have been carved into secluded forested lands that were once the preferred habitat for deer. Being a highly adaptable animal, the white-tailed deer has adjusted to the presence of man in these developments. It has taken advantage of new food sources such as vegetable gardens, valuable shrubs, and flowers. Deer can literally destroy the ornamental plants and shrubs surrounding homes as they roam the backyard searching for food. Besides the crop and shrubbery damage, two additional problems of an even more serious nature appear when deer and humans live too close to each other. The white-tailed deer is the host for the deer tick that carries Lyme disease. When a deer tick bites a human, the bacteria that carries the Lyme disease enters the bloodstream, causing extreme flu-like symptoms. Of equal concern is the ever-increasing problem of collisions between deer and vehicles. In Pennsylvania alone, over 100,000 deer are killed on highways annually. As the human population increases and spreads out, and the deer population increases and extends its range into these areas, the problem reaches a critical level. Even landowners who enjoy the deer insist that something must be done to limit the deer populations nearby.
I feel that it's very essential that we get the deer population down, and this to me appears in an urban area a safe way to do it.
The solution to overpopulation in the natural environment is predators. In the true wilderness, large predators such as the wolf and the mountain lion have kept deer numbers in check. The lion is especially adept at hunting deer. The big cat will glide through the forest like a ghost, searching for any movement. Alerted by the twitch of a deer's tail, its eyes scan the forest until it spots a white-tailed deer. A sudden rush and a quick death for this deer. In most of the country, it is impossible to expect large predators such as the wolf to prey only on deer and leave livestock alone. And the mountain lion has a history of including family pets to its menu. A hungry lion also sometimes looks upon playing children as easy prey. Consequently, natural predators must be ruled out in urban areas. Another method of controlling deer numbers that has been talked about is birth control. However, no efficient, sure method has been found yet that would reduce or eliminate doe pregnancies. Deer contraception technology and a practical way of applying it are still in the early experimental stages. Many unanswered questions and long-range research still need to be determined. Realistically, deer contraception does not solve the problem for now. Other methods of controlling deer damage, such as deer-proof fencing and chemical repellents, have proven both ineffective and expensive. Urban residents have found to their dismay that a deer-proof fence had to be constructed around the entire property to keep the deer out, leaving them feeling like a prisoner within their property boundaries. Deer repellents were found to be less than perfect, and when deer became ravenous with hunger, they often overcame their distaste for some repellents. In desperation, some villages have employed more bizarre deer control methods, such as professional snipers who secretly roam backyards shooting deer. Still other residents have attempted to feed hay to an overpopulated winter-starved deer herd. The result is usually a mass of winter-starved deer next spring. Enter the hunter. Experts agree that gun hunting is the most humane and efficient method of keeping the deer population in check. However, residents of rural subdivisions are fearful of gunfire so close to their homes. They quickly erect no trespassing signs to keep people out, which usually serves as a haven for deer to multiply. In fact, many villages have outlawed the use of firearms within city limits. It is interesting to note that in one particular township, a no-shooting ordinance within city limits was passed to keep citizens safe from harm. The next year, 2 people in cars and 1 bicyclist were injured in collisions with deer. Of all the deer management studied, only hunting has proved successful in limiting deer numbers. However, it is a sad fact that most urban landowners are adamant about no firearm use in or near their residence. So, an efficient, quiet, and safe hunting method is needed to reduce deer numbers. Also, most residents do not want to see or hear hunter activity, which would indicate that deer were being harvested. The best solution, so far, is bow hunting. When responsible, proficient archery hunters are used, it was proven that deer numbers were kept in check. Not only were the deer controlled, but, as a bonus, residents became more tolerant and favorable towards sportsmen in general.
I really welcome the bow hunting. I think we have a problem, and the bow hunters, as far as I'm concerned, do an excellent job.
The borough of Fox Chapel, a suburb of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, is typical of the many well-planned villages which dot the eastern landscape. Homes are aesthetically located and landscaped, and a slow drive through this idyllic village would give one the impression of a community in solitude with nature. Unfortunately, this serene setting belies the serious problem of deer damage that Fox Chapel residents have endured. How bad is it? For this area, an average density of 12 deer per square mile is appropriate. However, the deer within the city limits of this tiny 8.5 square mile community have skyrocketed to about 115 deer per square mile, with a projected density of 140 deer per square mile. The number of deer hit by vehicles within city limits was disproportionately high, with 81 deer vehicle collisions reported in 1993. The issue raised by some animal rights people who claim hunting is not a humane sport pales in the face of the grim reality of a young buck painfully dragging itself away from a road after being hit by a truck. This buck would probably suffer for days before nature finally took its course and the meat would be wasted. Too often, police officials had been using their valuable time to put one of these unfortunate but overpopulated animals out of its misery. One thing was certain about the folks of Chapel Hill. They loved the wild setting of their community. They greatly enjoyed the wildlife, especially the deer. But these beleaguered folks finally said, as a community, something's got to be done. After studying all the options, it was decided by the vast majority of citizens that the best alternative to reduce the deer population was through bow hunting because it was quiet, safe, and efficient. However, any hunt would be strictly regulated. There would be no onslaught of hunters trespassing on private property or dragging dead deer out into busy city streets. Bow hunters who applied and were chosen to participate in the Fox Chapel hunt were required to take a shooting proficiency test, and not on a bullseye either. An archer was required to put 3 arrows into the vital area of a deer target to be eligible to participate in the hunt. In addition, each archer was assigned to one particular property owner's land and had to stay at least 100 yards from any residence. Any harvested deer had to be removed whole so that entrails did not litter the landscape. Both does and bucks were legal, but an emphasis was put on the removal of does. Any wounded animal which fled across a property line had to be left temporarily until a member of the police department could arrive and assist the hunter in retrieving the animal. In 1993, the first hunt went off without a hitch, and 106 deer were harvested. As a result, the number of deer vehicle collisions dropped dramatically.
Whitetail. Are they the same everywhere? Is a whitetail a whitetail a whitetail? A good friend of mine, Roger Ray, hunting partner, business associate from Pittsburgh area, invited me to come back and hunt with him last fall to answer that question, or to try. We were going to be hunting suburban whitetails, right smack dab in where everybody lives, works, and plays. Are they huntable? Are they the same as the whitetails that I hunted in the West and the South? Come on along with us, and you be the judge. But you're always going to be learning, and you're always going to be making mistakes, and when you've got it all...
Paul Brunner is the founder of Screaming Eagle Incorporated, a full-service archery shop with catalog sales nationwide. He is a noted author and video personality who has appeared in several whitetail videos. This sequence is taken from the video Bad Medicine for Big Bucks, and illustrates why Paul is considered a leading whitetail authority. His techniques on the crafty whitetail have proven successful time and time again.
Just all.
Roger Ray, an avid bow hunter and whitetail enthusiast, owns a Screaming Eagle archery franchise in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He has taken several large bucks, but Roger is always eager to learn more from an expert like Paul. Aaron Conley works for Roger at Screaming Eagle. Aaron is an up-and-coming bow hunter who, along with many thousands of other archers, loves the challenge of the whitetail buck. Aaron has several doe kills to his credit, but he has not yet harvested his first whitetail buck.
There's another good deer trail.
Yeah. You know, Paul, I'm really glad you were able to make it back east again this year. After you came in last year, I've been doing a lot of scouting. I really feel like we've got a real good handle on this area where there's some good traffic, and I really believe that we can get into some good bucks here. And the thing that excites me the most is with what you have learned over the years about, particularly about funnel hunting and scrape hunting. I really think that we're going to get into some good bucks here.
Well, I don't have any doubt about it. There's a lot of sign. You know, for me to come back here without somebody that knows the area and has done a bunch of scouting, you know, that'd take at least a week just to, you know, assuming I had places to hunt to begin with.
Yeah.
So this is a great combination, and you know, I've got 30 some odd years of this under my belt. So what we'll try and do is you show me as much as you can about eastern whitetails and what they do, and I'll show you as much as I can about what I hunt funnels. That's what I do.
Yeah, east or west, that's really the thing to do.
I hunt funnels in Africa.
Yeah.
I mean, game moves through funnels and it pinches them down so you have a better chance. With a bow, you need it. You know, we've checked this area out pretty well, and I think I've got a couple of ideas about tree stands in here. The wind seems to be real nice here.
Yeah.
Seems to be running downhill. Why don't we go take a look at a couple of these other spots you've got, and let's see what we can do. We should probably, you know, we want to put up some stands. We'll probably have to move a couple of them once we sat in them, and I think I'd like to put up stands in at least 3 different locations, because I don't want to hit same stands time after time. The deer will get wise to it. At least I think they would.
Yeah,
Even with all the human activity here.
there's a lot of human activity, but they're still not stupid. They're white-tailed deer, you know.
You got it.
This is where we saw it on the map, where it starts to pinch down that I told you about.
I remember when we scouted this in July, it looks a lot different with the leaves off the trees. Boy, that's a big difference in the hardwoods. Check it out. That is a neat scrape. Don't even go any closer to it. You know, when we were here, what I noticed that I really liked about this, you got the, whatever that school is up there. So they're definitely not going to be out over that hill. I mean, basically this is the upper edge. You got the road and the creek down there. And bucks really love edges, especially when they're working scrapes. And one thing we should do, you know, there's a lot of people walking dogs that the Sunday we can't hunt. I'd say it's okay to go ahead and walk this edge here, this bench line, and let's make sure, you know, if there's scrapes, let's treat them.
Right.
But my guess is, I don't think I would want to get up in there.
That's that real thick viburnum stuff up there, and I see them feeding in there as they
Yeah.
move.
Well, see, it's all open. I mean, anybody in a tree stand, unless you get in basically skyline or something with a lot of white in it.
All the hardwoods are cherry, and they don't have much.
See, here's the whole kicker. That's buck country. Look at it. There may be bucks bedding there, but bucks will come through there. I mean, I can see, you know, there's a big trail going right over by that scrape. When we came over here, there was another trail there. And to me, somewhere right here, and I wouldn't set up out that way, it's too open. You want back cover. I'd want to be in either that tree which looks too gnarly, or that one there. Anything coming in here isn't going to see you, assuming your camo is appropriate, because they've got all that back cover. And ideally, this is great. I mean, if you see a buck coming from here or a doe, I mean, you got all the time in the world to get ready. Anything coming from here is in the thick stuff. And once they get to the edge of it, they're looking out there for danger. They're not going to look up. And they can't see you from back in there because they're in the thick stuff. My guess is you'll find more scrapes back in there. The wind is perfect. I mean, it's just going right down to the road. You got a crosswind for your deer. If anything coming off of here is going to have the wind at their back. What we need to do is we need to get a stand up now, and because there's so much human activity here, tomorrow morning it should be civil.
Wait, I'll tell you something else.
Can I sit here?
Please do. I'll tell you something else. The locals, it's part of the scouting around here. We got a road 150 yards down here, and when it gets to the rut time and the bucks start running the does, the locals see most of their big bucks running this ridge. They watch them from the road down there.
Well, you got an early warning system too. They beep their horns at the deer in the road, and you know that in about 3 minutes you're gonna have 3 deer left. What's a booner? 7 beats?
Tractor trailer truck.
Well, let's go get a stand and let's put that sucker up and get a camera stand hung and get out of here.
To better illustrate each tree stand location, a chalkboard discussion will be shown, followed by the action highlights of each location.
But especially like if I'm showing my son Lad something, or one of my buddies a new area, is I draw it out. Well, a blackboard is convenient where you guys are here, but basically, for example, the first place we scouted by the country club, you've got, this will be an aerial view, and this is really a big help for yourselves. Sure, use a map, use an aerial photo, but draw it out, especially where there's 2 of you and you want to know names of stands, so you can say, okay, this is what I saw at the so-and-so stand. And basically you have that golf course outline, and you have that one little gulch. And this is all fairly flat, okay? And then this is the timbered area that drops down, and then your bench goes along like this, and you've got the creek in here. I mean, it really helps to draw this stuff out. And then this is where that road is, okay, with the turnout. You know that one? Mm-hmm. Okay, now, then you have this narrowed part. And this is that funnel where I killed my buck last year. This really helps a lot when you're looking at it and trying to talk about it. The other thing is, for example, you might have a stand here because, we know there was a buck in there last year. It's a very narrow spot, probably the narrowest spot in there. And you're probably going to have a stand down at this end. From our scouting, I guess we know we're going to have a stand down at this end, because where this road crosses the creek and come in, there's a pinch down and there are deer coming off the hill. So you got a deer movement that way. Well, if you want to, let's say, Aaron, if you're going into this stand, and if you want to discuss what you've seen in the way of scrape activity, how it relates to here, but neither one of you wants to go in the middle so that you don't get into the bedding area and mess up the deer. This is why this sort of a diagram will really help you. If you're serious about taking a big whitetail, you have to do your homework. It isn't just, well, I'm going to grab my stuff and go sit in a tree stand. I mean, you've got to work at it. Now, for example, when we were scouting this, we talked about putting a stand in here, where this little tiny creek comes down in the thick bedding area. And I like hunting bedding areas, if you can get into them, and if the wind is okay. Most guys are afraid to do it. Well, that's where you're going to kill your big bucks. But I really wonder about this one with the wind, and that's one of the things we're going to have to do. We may have to hang a stand in there, and we may have to see what happens.
That gulch may make it squirrely on us too,
Well, yeah, especially in the east, where your terrain features really give you, crazy wind patterns. In the west, we get so much reliable wind out of the west. Well, here, seems to me like every time I go up or down a hill, my wind feather goes a different direction. I know we're going to want to stand in here somewhere, and you've scouted that pretty well. Now, have you found scrapes in there?
There are scrapes in and about this area where all these trails that we have found come right into here. So there's a place.
This is the area where Roger will start his hunting. As Paul and Roger scouted the area, they discovered several more scrapes, and Paul explained his scrape hunting techniques.
Okay, here's something Raj did. Now make sure you don't touch anything here. You don't want to touch this with your hands. You don't want anything, you never step on the scrapes. Usually what you're going to deal with is 3 kinds of scrapes. Boundary scrapes, they start early, okay? They will be on a trail that is the boundary of the buck's territory, where he travels. Usually, they start early, he hits one of these scrapes. They quite often be in the same place every year. and he may do it again, but it's not a scrape that he hits over and over again. As the rut draws closer, then he will have a few scrapes that he goes back to. But I can't say for sure, maybe every other day, maybe once every 4 days, whatever his mood is. When the rut is getting very close, when he's trying to leave a pickup place for does, then he's going to make what's called primary scrapes. Probably not going to have too many of them. Okay, they can be along a trail. They can be especially very close to a bedding area. I've never seen a lot of them right in the middle of the bedding area. The buck doesn't need scrapes in the bedding area. What the buck does in the bedding area is he just goes from bedding spot to bedding spot looking for does. But what we're dealing with here is probably a primary scrape, because that is the open. There's about, 5-6 trails comes in here.
Right, the elk corner in here.
The thick stuff right behind this is the bedding area. And in scouting here, 4 or 5 days ago,
Yeah.
I found this scrape and it was fresh just like it is now. That one was worked last night, would be my guess, because we've had some sprinkles of rain. This scrape probably is here every year. And probably it'll be a primary scrape every year. You have to check it. What he'll do now is he'll come in here and scrape, and he'll urinate over his hock glands to leave his glandular scent here. He will probably leave droppings. There aren't any in the scrape, but quite often you'll find them in the scrape. And a doe will come by here and she'll scent check him. And if she feels that he's a healthy buck by the secretions that he's left, and if she's getting ready, she'll urinate in or near the scrape. There's some droppings over there. And she'll probably bed close by here. And she'll leave scent with the glands between her toes. She may drizzle a little urine as she goes off, and that's quite often, that's why you'll see a buck running with his nose right on the ground. He's smelling the glandular secretions of that doe and her estrus scent, which will just kind of be there. This would be, depending on your wind, this would be an excellent scrape to set up if you think the buck is either coming out after scraping, and the wind could be in your benefit one side of the trail or the other. Okay, right now the wind is blowing up the hill, and if that's the normal wind situation, let's say in the morning, you'd want to be on the uphill side, and at that point it doesn't matter if he's coming in and scraping or going out and scraping. Quite often, if you could scout this from a distance with binoculars, and it seems terrible to burn up a day, but sometimes it's worth it to be 200 yards away where he can't possibly tell you're there to see which way he's coming and going, if you can't tell that by tracks. This definitely would bear some looking at. Now, if you take this trail and if you find 2 or 3 more scrapes, and if they look like he's using, the best thing in the world you can do is treat the scrapes, try and get him to think an intruder buck is coming in, and then set up in your very best funnel ambush spot on that scrape one.
Okay, so you'll actually work and treat more than one scrape at a time.
If I can find him. The other thing is, let's say we've got a rotten wind here. Let's say the wind's going that way and we know he comes in from that direction.
Yeah.
At that point, I might go over there where the terrain and everything would allow and create 2 or 3 mock scrapes running 90 degrees to the wind, and put one right in the trail or on the edge of the trail where there's an overhanging licking branch, and get his interest going, maybe use a little doe scent, and try to get him to start using the mock scrapes at a 90-degree crosswind and ambush him. And I've done it successfully several times. It works, no question about it. Obviously, this funnel is only about 40 yards wide. You know what the deer trails are like, and I'm sure
Got a lot of heavy buck rub activity coming up this little spine of this ridge, leading into that funnel.
Now that should be real good.
This is the area where Paul will hunt for the next few days. The stands at the country club proved exciting as numerous does approached Roger's stand. To better control the deer population, multiple doe tags were available, and both hunters planned to harvest a doe at every opportunity. It's always tougher hunting deer with a video crew. No matter how hard the cameraman tries to hide, he's always the one who gets caught. Whoops. Never did come by Roger's stand, and the does did not give him a chance for a quick, humane kill.
There's yard guys mowing lawns, they're using leaf blowers, and the deer don't pay any attention to it at all. They just kind of slither in the woody patches in between the houses. Should be a pretty good setup right here.
On the other hand, Paul would have been happy to see a doe. Finally, a deer. Could it be a big buck?
Right up into the dang yard. I had no shot at all. I mean, if it weren't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck. I don't know, boy, this Pennsylvania stuff's not as easy as I thought it might be. I need some of those good old foolproof Montana bucks with nobody's yard in the way. He's still standing up here. It could be that doe will run into somebody mowing a lawn and come right back this way, so who knows? Yeah, maybe it's time to go get some coffee and donuts.
Keep in mind, the hunter still spent many hours sitting in stands waiting for the deer to cooperate. But they are experienced bow hunters and know that with patience and persistence, good things are sure to happen.
Yeah, Aaron took me in about midday yesterday to his stand. You know, that's the one he hasn't shown you.
It's funny, you won't even tell me where it is.
Well, he's right along that hurricane fence of that estate.
Yeah.
And there's a gate open. apparently they leave it open so the deer won't, so they'll come in and out and they won't end up with their own herd deer or whatever. And then he's got a house, and a funnel of timber. And there's a house here and a yard. That funnel of timber goes just like this over toward the farm. There's a road and, in there, but this is probably the most dynamite setup I've ever seen. And the guy, he says he's only been bow hunting 2 years, and I think maybe he's blown our legs because he chose the awesome tree.
Well, actually 3 years with the traditional.
Okay. Well, what he's got is a tree stand, and there's a big trail coming here. There's a trail coming here. There's a trail running with fence. The fence is a funnel. The gate is a funnel.
And also,
There's a trail this way too?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, we didn't walk down in there. And they're coming up into this yard and feeding in there, and I'm sure they're feeding in these yards. But the trail going this way says to me that this is the funnel. Well, you can't get any better. And the thing is, he's about 22 feet up, you think, maybe 20?
I never measured it.
Yeah, it's about 20
It's the only
feet.
spot really in the tree's so crooked.
And the wind's blowing that way. I mean, this trail is close enough to the tree that anything that walks by, the wind will be over their head.
Well, the height here too is deceiving because this is a bank.
Yeah.
So he has to get pretty good height to get enough above the deer so that he can be invisible.
My guess is he's gonna kill a buck in there. And that is a fantastic stand. You said you've already taken 3 does out of it this year?
Yeah. Well, actually, I had another stand over in here too, so I wasn't sitting in the same stand every.
That's a smart move. You must have read my book.
Can I have an autograph?
Oh, sure, I'll autograph it for you. But that is a classic situation. I mean, I'm heartbroken, really. I just.
Well, if you plead long and hard enough.
You better kill a buck first. I've taken plenty, and this will be your first one if you get one.
First buck, yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. The minute you try to do it on film, you jinxed. Forget it.
Thanks.
But seriously, you guys, the better you get at this, the more you will actually utilize stuff like this. Barry Wenzel has a technique that is phenomenal. And I'm ordering exactly what he has for our lease in Montana. He has an aerial photo, and then he has acetate pages. And each year is this page, and he goes in and he marks his stands, he marks scrapes, and then he marks the spots where bucks and does were taken. And by the time he's into it about 4 years, you look down through the charts, and there's a cluster of scrapes, and a cluster of scrapes, and a cluster, and then there's a cluster of kills. You can almost always figure that those scrapes will be in the same place every year. There'll be travel patterns that are similar. They may give up this trail and go to that one, like at the farm.
Yep.
But they're still going to come to those hubs, and they're still going to use those funnels. And this is the kind of homework you want to do if you're going to be hardcore and be serious about it. And if you're hardcore and serious, and if you do the stuff that I've been showing you, keep your body sterile, wear the rubber boots, treat the scrapes, and for God's sake, don't hunt a stand too hard or too soon if you're run hunting. You'll kill bucks.
Well, the other thing that enters into is we have to make up our minds that we're going to pass a lot of the smaller bucks that you see in our area.
Yeah, well, to this point, I've passed 11 bucks.
That's what you have to do to take a good one.
Yeah.
Aaron was bolstered by the encouragement from Paul and Roger. As he quietly approached his tree stand, he wondered if this stand would bring him his first buck. Aaron had his sights set on hopefully a bigger buck, so he passed this one up.
And here comes the bigger buck back over. Doesn't take to do a lot of calling or grunting or anything because the woods are pretty open over here. And they're close enough there to look. They don't see anything, you know. Might screw it up, I don't know. It'd be a lot of fun just to watch this. I really don't think the rut's on with, I don't really think any of these guys are ready to be bred, but this little buck's just harassing them. And come on, this way, come on. Come on, come on. No, not that way, come on. Back here. Come on. This way, come on. Come on, come on. There he goes. I got a good liver hit on him. There he goes. He's out of sight. Ah, there's the arrow. All right. Good blood all over it. Good. All right. Right up to the fletching. All right. Blood just goes on out here. Oh, there he is. All right. Yeah. All right. There he is. What a nice buck. All right. Yeah. Ah, man, right down through the liver. Quartering shot into the liver. Yeah, what a nice buck. Ah, man. Cool. This is just a good example of, when I shot using the bright feathers and fletching on my arrows, I knew I had a questionable hit. I knew it was liver. And, being that we're hunting in, tight areas with close to people in all these houses, we just let them go for, it was about an hour and a half from when I found him, from when I shot him. And, when we found him, he was stone dead, and he only traveled about 75 yards max.
Hey, dude!
Yeah.
How you doing?
You did it for me.
John Stringer wasn't kidding, was he?
Oh, super. That is
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
boy.
This is beautiful.
Say, the only thing in the world I'd rather see than this is me shooting.
Well, we know that's not possible.
Hey, I gotta thank you guys for everything that you've done to
Hey,
help.
hey man, my pleasure. You're a
Hey,
good
that's
bow
what
hunter.
hunting's all about, is helping your buddies. This is a beautiful buck, man.
Right.
There's one little lesson to be gleaned from this, guys, and that is that all the skill in the world will never equal blind luck.
yeah.
Good thing that big stud has a sense of humor, huh? Well, you finally got yourself a nice buck. Now what are you gonna do?
Go to Disney World.
Give me some. Let me get a picture of this. Look up here, guys. Yeah.
Paul spent his midday hours making arrows or working on bows. Here he applies a snakeskin face to a bow. This prairie rattlesnake skin makes the bow look great, but obtaining that snakeskin can often be as challenging as getting a buck. This snakeskin was once attached to a very dangerous rattlesnake. Let's take a look at how Paul spends his off-season. Paul's snake hunting is done at den sites in the spring when the reptiles are emerging from hibernation. Paul carefully approaches a den to avoid alerting the snakes. The action is fast and furious as Paul grabs as many snakes as he can before they disappear back into the den.
That one a little far back from the head. I don't like that. There we go. Oh, here's that dandy. This den is loaded with rabbits.
Point of interest, we have tens of thousands of rattlesnakes here. Our rattlesnakes are not endangered, and these ranches where I hunt these snakes, they have a lot of snake problems. They have young kids and dogs. They have house pets, cats. The rancher that owns this place took 50 snakes in his yard and the corral below the house. And so we're not taking an endangered resource here. We're only getting a fraction of the snakes that are here. We use them on the backs of hunting bows. It's a good use. I have friends that eat them. It's not one of my favorite foods.
Paul is an experienced snake hunter who uses snake-proof boots and chaps. This is not a hobby for the inexperienced bow hunter. It's a lot safer to order your snakeskins from his Screaming Eagle archery shop.
Okay, let's go to the farm. You know, that, as far as I'm concerned, that is just a dynamite situation there. Basically, because of the road here, it's not quite rectangular. Now, the situation down there, and you and I hunted that last year, and I'm going to try and draw it from memory, and you tell me what you guys have been seeing in there. But basically, you've got the farm down in here with the fields, and then it goes up a timbered hillside, and then you got houses. It's a subdivision. And so basically, you've got a funnel situation here that is just, it's a gimme. I mean, they'll feed in the yards at night, especially the does, and you know that this is the funnel. It's going to force the deer to go along this edge if that's what they're doing. Also, if there's a lot of does in here, these bucks are going to be coming somewhere in here because this is a hunting hole. This is where you pick up the lady.
This is all about 30 acres, just.
Okay, and that roughly the house is here, and your trees are about like this, and then you've got one tree line going this way, you've got another little meadow. And then this, last year, that was hot.
I made 2 scrapes here. I made one right here, basically on this trail that we hunted last year, you remember?
Oh yeah, I guess so.
In case, a buck didn't hit the scrape, so that we at least pick up, doe tracks going through here to see what kind of traffic is going through. The other one's over here. And as you can see,
Nothing.
Tell me what you see, pal, because I've been up here working these scrapes, dressing them from the time you told me to. I marked it in my day planner in October. And we've been up here religiously dressing these scrapes and checking for signs.
I see this all the time in western Montana where I live, eastern Montana where I hunt, even down south where we do our bow hunting schools. You got a situation here where for some reason, and maybe no reason, maybe dogs didn't do it, a neighbor kid with a BB gun didn't scare them away, they just stopped using a trail. Because I had what, 30 does and fawns under here the first morning last year. I mean,
We grinded
see you
right
got-
in $6.
yeah, you've got the stand up there, but you know what? Basically, haul it down or wait and see if you get any. You got a late season in January, right?
After Christmas.
Well, you may get a resurgence of use of this, but this is a classic example where something that should work. I mean, because they were hammering the heck out of this last year.
Oh, I had 40 plus whitetails come under me in that stand last year in October. And
we
you
just-
and I were here, what, $6 we had come into us in one
Yeah.
day, and here we rattled and grunted them in.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. You've got the hot spot down there, and my guess is because we know this property, I'll be willing to bet you that we need to go to the very opposite end. Since your stand's about in the middle and this is on this end, you may find that there's a trail coming in there because these deer are using this. But for some, maybe the lead doe just decided, hey guys, we're not going that way this year. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to some of it. And there may be somebody down here has a Labrador or something that's chasing deer and the deer just avoid it.
Maybe what we ought to do is check the other end of the property down there and see what's going on.
Do it. That's scouting, and if you don't scout, you don't get good bucks. No question about it. Let's go check it out. Well, now what have you guys been seeing in here?
Well, I'll tell you, there's one more brush line right here that runs up. If you'll remember, it runs here, and if you remember last year where we had the centerfold stand.
Mm-hmm. Where that big scrape was?
Well, it's back. They're hitting it hard again.
Really?
Yep. And we put the stand up. In fact, Aaron went in and put the stand up 3-4 weeks ago, and that scrape is hit hard. And there's a lot of traffic coming into the scrape from the fields. And what they do is they run right up this brush line and come right into the scrape. And the stand's right here, and they just go right into it. And they come in from here. They come in from here. They all come in to hit this scrape. This is the same scrape from last year.
Well, he's got that bigged out pretty nice.
Exactly. But there's a big print right in there.
And there's fresh scrape marks too.
You can tell the dirt's down here. So he came off this way and hit this thing. There's droppings in here. See where he hit that tree over there? See the little rub?
Yeah.
Broke that twig off there.
You always find piles of droppings in and around the scrape too. Let me show you a couple things about treating these scrapes. You could really, really light this buck up, and they can do the same thing with mock scrapes. It's critical to wear boots like we've got on. Absolutely critical never to step in the scrape. But don't ever come near a scrape with leather boots or Gore-Tex or any of that stuff because it carries odor. Okay, let me show you what to do with a scrape. I'm using the James Valley rut lure. The rut is so close that it's a toss-up between wall hanger and rut lure. Break off a stick, but don't touch the end that you're going to use to apply it to the scrape. And you just want, this stuff is real thick, so you want at least 1 or 2 good drops right in there. Okay, now, just rub a little here. Because this is his licking branches. This is where he's taking his horns and gnarling it, and this is where he's rubbing his preorbital gland and licking. And this, you know, if you can get in here middle of the day, you got a real plus here where so many people around walking dogs and stuff. You don't have to be, you know, like we're not in camo, we're not sneaking around, because it's normal to have this kind of incursion. Get in here about middle of the day and treat the scrape every day, because what's going to happen in the next 6 or 8 days, the first of these does is going to start to cycle, and this is going to be a real center of action. Once most of the does are in a bunch of bred, the scrape will mean virtually nothing. He'll just be right on the does. But this is the pickup point for, let's just say, 10 really great days until it all happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a real good stand choice up there. You're wearing some Skyline type.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work just perfectly. You know, really, you should have somebody smaller sit this stand.
I will. As soon as I kill him, you can sit in the stand.
Let's split. Let's get out of here. Let's check those other scrapes.
All right.
first evening in his stand, Roger had high hopes after treating the big scrape. The hunt began less than promising for Roger. But it was still early enough for deer to come by, so he decided to stay put.
Oh man, that's a beautiful buck. He's about 150 yards away. Gosh, he's gorgeous. Big body. See if I can get his attention. Maybe I can bring him across with some rattling. What a beautiful buck. I saw him earlier working along the line there, just walking, sniffing for does. It's like he's just rubbing his preorbital glands on some brush up there. Where's this big guy headed? He's interested. I gotta quit rattling when he looks this way. He'll catch the movement. Oh, is he beautiful? There she is up above him there. My only hope is that she comes over here. See, nice buck. Well, it was worth seeing him anyway. Gosh, he was big. Wait a minute. He's coming back out again. All right. Oh, he'll look, but he won't come down here. He's still with that doggone doe. Oh, he bedded down. He bedded down right by the doe. Oh, gosh, I'll never get him over here if he's bedding by that doe. Oh, oh boy, he's a dandy. There's nothing to do here but just wait a little bit and see what happens. Maybe she'll bring him over. I hear something behind me. There's 4 does coming down the trail. He's 150 yards away. I'm gonna take one of these doe. Gotta get turned around. Oh, here they come. He's coming in. The big buck's coming in. He's coming in. Oh, I gotta watch these does don't catch me. Oh, he's coming in. He's coming in. Oh gosh, he's coming in. Oh, he left the doe. There he comes. Oh yeah, he's coming right in. Oh gosh, he's coming in. The big buck's coming in. He's coming in. Oh, he's coming right up in here.
This is a good example of the killing potential of a well-placed arrow. The time clock begins when the buck is hit. 14 seconds, and less than 50 yards later, the buck is down for good.
Oh man, can you believe he came right into us? Gosh. Oh man, he went down so fast. I'm falling apart, man, I know. Yeah, he's dead. Oh, he only had it. I say he's one of the most beautiful bucks I've ever shot, and he took a tumble back there and broke his doggone rack off. I can't believe it. It's not dug in the ground here anywhere. We gotta go back and find that, pal. Holy smokes. He had both sides when I shot him. Look at that. Look, he's got a little sticker down there. Let me see if this is all of it, eh? It's one of my best bucks ever. And he made me pay for it. He made me watch him for an hour. Hey, the moon chart was right. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, that is a beautiful buck.
Thanks.
That is absolutely. That's the buck I saw that morning that I told you about. Wrong hand.
Yeah, I know, but I'm holding this broken hand.
Hey, let's get it. You know, I'm hungry.
Me too. I'm gonna eat this deer.
Let's get him in the truck. You animal.
Okay, now you guys never took me down into this end of the property last year, and you never mentioned it. What's going on down there?
Aaron?
Well, last year we just had so much activity from this end of it that it was enough to suffice. I mean, we just hunted it. The apples were in here real heavy, and I mean, deer just were pouring in from here, and here to the apples, and we just never had a need to get down in there.
That's interesting, because one of the problems that I've had with my hunting, and it's a patience problem, is I'll scout until I find something that's just so hot, and I set up a stand. I get in it, and 80 yards away, I see the big buck. In other words, I don't scout all the way. I find something I love, throw up the stand, because here it is. Had I gone another 60 or 80 yards, I would have found the mother lode. So that's something we better take a look at in the next couple of days. Okay, Raj, this is what I found. You know the area around here. We've got the houses up on top. There's 1, 2, 3 houses there. But there is that gap over into I don't know what. And it looks to me like the deer are coming along that ridge over to the big scrape you were on. They're coming down here, out into the meadow. You saw a bunch coming across across the road.
From down here coming this way.
Coming this way. Well, man, you wouldn't believe. I mean, there's a junction right there, right in the bottom. And you know, to me, this is a classic funnel. I'm assuming some deer go out and in down there because it's the only really thick alleyway around.
Well, you can tell because the people beat their horns down.
That's our deer warning system. Now, right over by that tree over there, I got 3 scrapes, and I treated them. I would take that tree because you see the one tree you got in front of it?
Yeah.
And you still got some leaves, and then you got real good cover back over there by that house. And I would face the stand this way. Now, that deer is going to be walking right at you, but you've got the tree behind your back as your back cover. And because I hurt my shoulder, you're going to have to hang those stands.
Yeah.
But, you know, out of respect, I think, for my seniority and my experience, I think you should do that anyway, don't you?
Oh, yes, one.
Let's do it.
Paul placed a tree stand for himself and his cameraman. Paul had high hopes he'd get a lot of action. Is this enough action for you, Paul? There. At least these are the right species. At dusk, a trespasser stumbled through Paul's scrape, ruining it. So Paul decided to hunt in one of Aaron's tree stands the last morning of his hunt.
Yes. Oh, yes. What a dandy buck. Oh, man. Oh. Wow, what a beautiful buck. Just center punched him. Just center punched him. Awesome. Normally I wait a while unless I know for certain I've got a long hit. That buck is so center punched. I saw him start to go down over there. There's no point in waiting 20 or 30 minutes. I hit him in the right lung. And I got tremendous penetration. Looked like the arrow backed out when he lunged. Boy, oh boy, what a beautiful buck. Anybody says Pennsylvania doesn't have big deer is nuts. Oh, good blood trail. Real good blood trail. Oh, jeez. Good penetration. Oh, man, look at that. What a buck. Oh. Boy, and he's stone dead, too. What a magnificent animal. Oh, man. Oh, look at that rack. Oh, man, that is a gorgeous buck. That's really something, come all the way to Montana to Pennsylvania to get a beautiful buck like that.
Boy, Paul, that's a beautiful buck.
Hey, you can't imagine how proud I am of this deer. I've got to leave tomorrow morning pretty early. Is there any way I could pay to have somebody process him? You've got a food bank for the homeless.
Yeah, what
from
we do
I-
is a lot of the hunters will get the deer processed and they bring it to the building. We put it in a freezer in the fire department, and then we call the food bank and they come out and pick up the meat, and they use it to help feed the homeless. So yeah,
Okay.
we certainly could.
Oh, that'd be
very
great.
appreciative.
You know, there's no way I can get the meat back home, and I've got quite a few deer tags from Montana, and I'd like to do something for the folks that don't have a chance to eat this. You know, it for one thing, it sure doesn't hurt our image, and that's
No.
something hunters need. You
And,
bet.
you know, the worst thing is to let it go to waste.
Well, your help has been very much appreciated, and I'll bring this down to where you clean them, and I'll get it all
We
ready, and
encourage
then I'll
all
stop in and
hunters
see
to
you, find out
support
what
their
they can
local
actually.
food bank by
thanks,
donating
buddy.
any wild game.
Heck of a host.
Wow, dude, that's a beautiful buck, man. Gorgeous.
Last morning of the hunt, I would never shoot him until the last day. Right?
11:59, eh? Cute dog. Tell me about it.
Well, he's old and gnarly.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Well, I can tell you one thing. That trespasser who blew my stand last night,
Yeah.
that was great. That was karma. Well, you know, Aaron was kind enough to let me go into his stand this morning where he killed his buck. This guy was just mooching along looking for does, and I grunted, and boy, he came like a freight train.
Boy, he's a gnarly son of a gun, isn't he?
Yeah, he's old. That is an old deer. I saw his rack, and I immediately said, no, don't look at it. And then I saw his face, and I realized this is an old deer. And then I just picked a spot on his back, and he was almost straight down when I drilled him. And boy, that arrow just hammered. That new little bow I got is awesome. Roger, have you seen one of these yet?
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, it's called a zip saw, and I've ended up cutting myself a couple of times fairly badly, trying to cut the pelvic bone. And what you do with this thing is you slide it up in through here. You just make your incision, and you slide it up through, and pull it apart. And what you have is a saw, and you can go right through that pelvis in absolutely no time. And that means you don't get a broken bladder.
That's slick.
Oh, I tell you, that is. I've discovered a lot of good stuff, and it turns out the guy that invented it was either just a regular hunter or a bow hunter. And we're going to have a broadhead in here, so I got to be a little careful. That's something, boy, that a guy really wants to watch out for, because you can really cut yourself. You know, one thing I'd like to mention to our viewers, and we clown around a lot when we're doing the videos, but this is real serious stuff. No matter where you hunt, but particularly in an area where you have a lot of dwellings, small farms, suburban kind of stuff that we hunted, you've got to respect the landowner's rights, especially when you have a landowner that lets you hunt, but the neighbor, may be a non-hunter or may not approve or whatever. And the ethics, I like to try and give that message to everyone who watches a bow hunting video. Ethical hunting is probably the greatest consideration. Proper shot placement. There's no head on the wall worth a wounded animal.
Right.
The thought of having you drive me an hour and a half through the traffic just makes me feel delighted. We better get going. Hey, thanks a bunch, buddy.
You're welcome.
And I want you to mount that deer for me. You're the best.
You get that self-bow ready.
I will. I'll build you one. We'll see you later.
We did.
Well, you've walked through the woods with us, you've scouted with us, and you've hunted with us. You've seen, I think, pretty conclusively that whitetails are whitetails, no matter where you hunt them. You have to pattern them, you have to learn their habits, you have to scout, and you have to do the job right. You saw something really unique in this video that I don't think has ever been presented in any other. This is what bow hunting can be about. It's a great tool, and it's a lot of fun.